With the season hanging in a balance and the transfer window approaching, what can Newcastle do? What do they have to do to turn things around? Let's find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Shell. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Shell.
All right, folks. Thank you, as always, for all those that are joining me on tonight's show. And whatever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you guys are blessed. And I am super, super looking forward to tonight's show. It is going to be focusing. I know, obviously, we had the Sunderland game, but I wanted to do a special show tonight to do a kind of a bonus show. We're still going to have a show on Tuesday. We're going to be reviewing the Sunderland game, and previewing the Fulham game. But for tonight's show, I wanted to focus on the January transfer window, and more specifically, trying to objectively identify where we need to freshen up the squad. And we know, obviously, within the limitations of the transfer window itself. So we know, for instance, we can't buy 3 or 4 high-profile 70, 80 million pound players. But what can we provide, and what can we make of the squad in terms of going into the transfer window? And so we're going to be doing that as objectively as we can. But as always, guys, I need you guys, as always, to provide the nuance, to provide the context to everything else. And we've got a couple players that I have done the scouting profiles for, that I've also been linked to Newcastle. But are they the type of players to help us take things forward? As always, folks, you will help us to decide. All of us, we're going to work on it together. I'll tell you what, from the beginning, I can't tell you guys enough. When before I even start the show, to see comments already in the chat is such a blessing, and it's already good to see. Adrian, God bless you, even to you, sir. First recruit would be a new manager if I had my way. Oh gosh, we're going to talk. I'm going to be doing a proper review, obviously, on Tuesday, but I don't mind, touching on the Sunderland game here and there. Aaron says, get that forward out of my football club. Absolutely inexcusable yesterday, sitting back. By the way, God bless you, Aaron. Good to see you. Absolutely inexcusable yesterday, sitting back in the derby, showing no fight or determination. Same rubbish as all this season. No shot on target until the 60th minute. Fans are fuming about that game. Aaron says there's so many glaring issues, and we have the players to be doing better. Build up is awful, too direct, and it's killing us time and again. When you have the players we have, I expect control. And we'll finish off also sitting back from Aaron, sitting back in a 4-5-1 mid to low block, as we have all season, showing no fight, especially in the derby. Inexcusable tactics, personnel, all wrong. So yeah, a lot of people are fuming from that game as well. Oh boy, I'm trying to hold back what I'm going to say about it, but because I've got tons and tons of stuff I want to go through today. But all I can say is, in short, and it's not my full kind of view of the game, but like it was disappointing. I only got to watch the first half. Then I went to church, and then I didn't have the opportunity to see the second half. So I was just looking at the data, the stats, excuse me, and that wasn't looking very good at all. And I guess in short, what I'm hoping for is a bounce back against Fulham. Yeah, but folks, do let me know if you have any questions. I don't mind touching on the Sunderland game throughout the show. It's not a problem at all. I just wanted to say, I knew it would be difficult to not talk about it because it's just happened. It literally happened 24 hours ago. But I was planning to I thought, otherwise I'll never get a chance to kind of have a show. I wanted to have a show where we can prepare for the transfer window. And there's so much to talk about, really. And as you guys know, we like to be thorough. We want to be able to, yes, there's tons of players to talk about and there's rumors. But tonight's show is really about um, finding out, identifying what we can improve within the parameters of what we need to improve. So yes, we can say, for instance, Pope, Ramsdale, are basically average goalkeepers. We need a new goalkeeper. But are we going to get? Can we get it? Possibly. We can still do it, absolutely. But is that the priority? Let me know. Or is another position more of the priority? I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, but let's talk about, you guys always add the nuance, add the context. Let us talk about it. So before, like, as you know, before I get into it, like, obviously we know I've got on the thumbnail Ross Wilson, our sporting director. And this is the first thing I wanted to talk about, actually, just to quickly mention. Ross Wilson, sporting director, obviously Eddie Howe, our manager, our Mayan. I could have had enough more space for Hopkins, but the main thing is to say this. This is probably the first window. I think this is the first window since the takeover. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. But we've had our finances in order. So in terms of, we've got a lot of financial headroom, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide, and obviously money to back it up. We've got the owners who are going to back it up. Once when our target's identified, we've got a whole recruitment team together. We've actually got a sporting director and manager in Eddie Howe working together. So it's the first time I can say, I think we've actually have all our ducks in a row: sporting director, manager, owners, recruitment team, finances, all together. Or sporting director and manager are on the same one, but they're all together. They're all in line going into a transfer window, which is a blessing in itself. So I'm hoping for more positive results going into this transfer window. So we spoke about the finances, and this is a quick, brief review because I'm not going to go too deep into it. Let me just take this chat off quickly. When we finished our summer transfer window, so all the player sales, all the players that we brought in, where did that leave us? And essentially, it left us with a lot of PSR headroom. We're always going to have the cash. We're always going to have the money because our owners are the richest owners in the world, right? And our current status is that we're very, very safe. Player sales like Alexander Isak, as well as before that Lloyd Kelly, Alma, and all of that helped like tremendously to put Newcastle in a headroom where we have at least about 100 million from this is Toon Tactics TV. Without seeing the financial report, but this is Toon Tactics TV calculations. Got 100 plus million extra headroom under PSR. And that puts our spending power. We can spend about 150 to 200 million pounds on players in 2026 alone without selling anyone, right? Now, we are going to sell people because we're going to be financially responsible. But the point being is that at least that's how much we can stretch it to. That's what we can do. That puts us in the position where we can buy 3 or 4 big signings between 60 to 70 million, stuff like that. Obviously, it would be irresponsible to do it without selling people, but I'm trying to kind of paint a picture of where we're at. But we also talked about selling smartly. So we will be also obviously, so Newcastle, for instance, can buy can spend between 150 to 200 million pounds per transfer window. So they're in a position where they can spend 150 to 200 million pounds per transfer window, so long as they make a 15 to 20 million pound profit in player sales. Hence why obviously we heard things around Osola, Willock, and others. So, and we'll continue doing stuff like that. So that's in the position. But rather than when we, the 2 years ago, where we had to sell Elliot Anderson and Yankuba Minte because we were in a position where we had no PSR headroom and we had no space and we had to sell players. Otherwise, we would be, sanctioned. So we are in a very, very good financial headspace. I don't want to spend too much on it because, like I said, we're in a very, very good space. Now, that is also going to change because of the SCR. Is it SCR, SCA rules? I can't remember the name of it a little bit. So I'm going to talk about that more specifically once the transfer window shuts. And we'll be able to kind of put, hopefully we'll have bought some players, sold some players. Then we'll be able to talk a little bit more about, okay, what does it mean? And going forward, and what are these new financial rules as well that Newcastle actually voted for. When it came down to the vote for this SCA rules, Newcastle did vote yes, that they want to be a part of it. So we have, the excuses of, no excuses, the valid reasons for why we were against the PSR won't count for this. Like we voted for it, right? As a club. So, but that's further down the line. The main thing is, do we have money to spend? Yes, we've got the richest owners in the world. Do we have PSR headroom to do it? Yes, we have a lot of PSR headroom. And we've got sellable assets to continue spending in a way that will improve our squad. So speaking of our squad and talking about how I'm going to approach the show and how I'm going to approach the transfer window, and how, as if I'm buying and selling, but how, and let me know, like, again, I want to know you guys' thoughts on this, because I want to be as objective as I can. And I don't want to go into too many directions, right? But this is how I kind of see the transfer window, and how I think, if I'm thinking, what do they call it? Strategic empathy, where essentially you are trying to think like where you're trying to put yourself in other people's shoes. So I'm trying to, with you guys, hopefully, put myself in the shoes of the sporting directors, put myself in the shoes of Eddie Howe. As a fan, I would say, I'd spend 100 million on this player, 50 million on that player, but I'm trying not to dwell in fantasy land too much. We're trying to be as realistic as possible. Okay, so how are we going to do that, right? So the why I'm approaching this. So I think going into this transfer window, we're looking to buy players, looking from the news and everything else, we're looking to buy players that would add depth to our squad. So not necessarily first team players, but depth players that will allow us to freshen our squad, and that would hopefully equal wins. So you guys can see in front of you, and look, and we can all kind of debate who's really our first team. I've got it down as this for now, and I know that some of us aren't really happy with some of the players for now. And look, and that's all up for debate. But my whole point is that the depth players we're going to buy are the players that will allow us to continue to rotate the squad in a way where we can put out the first team as often as possible. And I've created, and so essentially Newcastle United must use the January transfer window to fill critical gaps, right? So where are the gaps in order to make sure the depth is there to ensure we can put out the first team? So we've got the freshest lineup every week, which is the only way to sustain a top four push or a trophy, or a trophy actually, right? And so how how we're going to do that? Well, I systematically analyzed a squad by creating a rotational matrix. We're going to go back to the squad rotation. Essentially, it's going to be key for us to compete in every area. Like this last 8 days is a big example of that. We went to Leverkusen for the Champions League. We got a point that keeps us in the Champions League. We then went all the way to the Stadium of Light where we lost, right? And then we're now going to a League Cup quarterfinal that we have to win. It's important that we win to keep the ball rolling. And these like 3 games in 8 days. So you've got to try and put out your first team, as we did, the best team we could, as I think we did for the Sunderland game, as often, as much, as consistently as we can for all these competitions. We've got the FA Cup coming up as well. So we need the depth in order to do it. So that's how I'm seeing it. But obviously, I want to hear how you're seeing it. Some of you might think, no, we need to buy first team players now in this transfer window, break the bank. And that's cool. We can talk about it. This is just from my point of view of trying to see it from the sporting director's point of view, the owner's point of view, Eddie Howe, and looking at our track record before, right? So I've created a squad rotation, a rotational matrix comparing the minutes of primary starters. So the players that you see in front of you, that these are the primary starters, comparing their minutes to our specialized backups. And I'll go to explain it a bit. Allow me to numerically pinpoint the most critically overstretched area of the pitch, right? Area of the squad. Where are we most overstretched? Where are we most in danger of essentially burnouts, fatigue, injuries, and crumbling our squad and hurting our first team. That's what I'm kind of aiming at, and that's what I think. I think in the January window, we're most able to do kind of get players that are and kind of squad depth players. Those are probably the most gettable players that we can get. Yeah, talk about Philip's stats were bad, but watching the game, it was a lot more worse. And the comments after the Eddie Howe embarrassing came across as a condescending. Okay. Aaron says there were reports today from Mark Douglas about recalling, the potential recalling Matt Target. Comes across as we aren't prepared for January. I hope this is wrong. I think we're prepared, but when you say how does it prepared, like hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I think that's how I took that message. Aaron says we need in January a new manager. Okay, wow. Rayan Keysmith, a new left back and a striker. I don't think we'll get a goalkeeper until next season. So Aaron is straightforward. Yeah, I saw that one as well. Dan Burner suffered a punctured lung, a broken rib, and 6 weeks out. So that's a bit of a spoiler alert as to where I think we're going with this. Adrian says, in terms of play, we're ready to recruit. So let me know if you get where I'm coming from, guys. I'm going to be doing it as objectively as I can, using the minutes, just to see consistently how we're putting out the first team currently. So it's looking at using numbers, essentially, kind of looking at the disparity between the minutes of the starter and the backup, and kind of seeing through that where we need to make the most changes. All right, so, and I'm going to keep on and do pull me up if there's something that's not like you're like, wow, what does that mean? What is all that about? Now, you would have seen me do this before in terms of squad rotations. This is the current minutes of the squad broken down. This is though the Sunderland game not included, right? So the minutes are this is the Sunderland game not included. Now, you guys would know from the previous minutes that we've done from last year, we've got the high dependency players. These are the players who've got the most minutes, right? So I think the maximum so far we've played is about 23 games, about 2,100 minutes. But I've got it going up to 1,900 minutes because no one's played 2,100 minutes. So up to 1,900 minutes. The highest minutes, I think, is by Dan Burner, 1821. So the high dependency players, and I've got it down going by 500 minutes. We've got it in the top 6 there. Those guys who have played the most minutes. These are essentially the core. These are the guys that are high dependent. These are like the SAS of our first team, right? Which is Bruno, Dan Burn, Sandro Tonali, Nick Pope, and Nick Voltemade. The next group, who have played between 900 minutes to 1,300 minutes 99, who are still first team players, right? But they're the core group. They're usually the players that are substituted early or maybe given a game or two off. But they're still part of the core group, very much the first team. Now, the good news, the overall good news is, guys, if you put the high dependency and core group together, it makes 14 players. So there's an overspill there's a surplus of 3 players, which means we've got 14 players, for me, 14 players that are covering 11 positions at this moment in time, which is really, really good news, in my opinion. And it's not surprising because we bought 6 players. We sold players, but we bought 6 new players in the transfer window. We talked previously how we expect Eddie Howe to use more, to have a greater depth. To give you an example, the previous time when we finished the season last season, we had 9 players, 9 first team players covering 11 positions. And one of them included the goalkeeper. So we were short by at least 2-3 players just in the first team alone. This time we've got an overspill of 3 players. We've got 14 players covering 11 first team positions. Added to that now, we've got, and obviously that includes Livramento, Joe Linton, Gordon, Trippier, Botman, Ilanga, Murphy. And obviously you can see there's a bit of injuries there as well already. Then we've got the key rotation players who have played between 400 and 900 minutes. And these are the players who typically are the ones who are filling in or rotating out the first team players, right? So Fabian Shaw, Lewis Miley, Lewis Hall, Aaron Ramsdale, Jacob Ramsey. Now, I've got obviously Lewis Hall there. I consider him a first team player. He is a first team player, but obviously he's been injured, but he's part of that key rotational group. And this time we've got 5 players. Last season we had about 2, right? And that was even broken down into other areas. So if you add the overspill of 11 players, we've got about, with those 3 plus the 5 here, we've got 8 key rotations to core group players who are filling in to that first team player. So we've already got decent depth, right? I'm not arguing about the quality just yet. We're going to get into that in a moment. Whether I like Elanga or I like Murphy, I'm not getting into that. The main thing is to talk about the depth of where we're at, because the main goal is to say is having a squad that's able to put our first team, the best first team squad for every game and every competition. Then we've got, these are the players that are played between 0 to 400 minutes. These are squad plus development players. These guys have the minimal impact on the first team and really key rotations as they are. They're almost the backup to the backups at this stage, unused for whatever reason, right? And probably are the most vulnerable to being sold. So that Joe Willock, William Musola, Emil Kraft, Jamal Lascelles, Johan Wissa, obviously we know he's been injured, but he's part of that group at the moment, and Alex Murphy, right? So obviously Johan Wissa probably stands out the most because he's been injured, and he will probably consider him, had he not been injured, he'd probably be a first team to core group member, right? So, but that's where it is at the moment. We've got 6 players there at the moment, and they're the most vulnerable, in my opinion, to being sold in this January window. So let me see what if you guys have said anything. Aaron says, I would sell Gordon, get the money while his reputation is high, get Antonio Nusa and build a team with more technical quality. Fair play, Aaron. So you want to go like you're ready to change the first team. Can we do it in January, Aaron, though? Let me think. Let me know. Aaron says, makes you think as well. Byrne was kept on to play through this same thing. Happened with the mismanagement with Sven Botman, ACL injury, so much confidence for medical. Yeah, that was a tough one. That was a tough one with the Botman thing and with Byrne. Byrne wanted to carry on. It's a weird side derby. He's not gonna, Eddie Howe is he has to see what Byrne is saying, right? Because remember the game previous to Leverkusen when we took off Joe Linton, Joe Linton was going, he wasn't going mad, but he was upset. Like he was saying, I can play. And Eddie Howe didn't take that time. He took him off early. Joe Linton disagreed with him. So I don't know. It's so difficult with these ones. I'm a bit more, what's the word? I can see the gray areas in it and the difficulties of it. Right. So our squad is in the healthiest state in terms of squad depth at the moment and where things are at. We've got squad depth. We've got at least 8 players who can supplement the first team. We've got 14 players who are in the first team. And 5 players who are key rotation. So we've got good, decent rotation, but we want to break it down a little bit more further to talk about our starters and our backups and see what's working and see what's not. We're going to use the disparity, so the difference in the minutes, to be able to work that out to help us identify where we think Newcastle should be aiming at in order to do that. So this is a table that I've created with the help of AI based on the minutes that I've just showed you guys, right? Let me see if I can still put you guys comments while I can read this. Okay, I'll just keep on flicking through the screens. Right. So let me explain it to you. This is a breakdown of what you saw earlier. This is it, right? This is the squad rotation we saw, and this is how it's broken down. So on the bottom of the chart, right on the bottom of the chart, is the position of the player. So you can see the attack, right wing, centre forwards, left wing, the centre midfielders, defensive mids, and 2 CMs. and the defense. Right back, right centre back, left centre back, left back, the defense, and obviously the goalkeeper, right? So that's the position. Going up is the minutes, so up to 1900 minutes, right? So position and minutes. The black bars represent the starters. These are the starters we have. The grey bars that are next to them represent their backups, represent the backups of those starters. So you can see Barnes, Gordon, Voltamada, Osola, Wissa, Ilanga, Murphy. Those are in the greys and the dark, the grey bars with the dark bars there. Then you've got the white bars the white bars that are literally the secondary backups, the backups of the backups, So those are the guys that you saw earlier in these squad player development, right? So when I'm talking about disparity, I'm talking about the gaps between the backup players. So you can see Ramsey here, for instance, and Joe Linton and the minutes there. Then you've got what you can see going across in the red line. That's the high dependency threshold. So those are the players who are playing the most minutes, the SAS. So these are the top ones here you saw: Malik Chow, Sandro Tonali, Nick Pope, all those guys. So those are the guys that are playing, who are the most dependent upon players in the squad at this moment in time, right? Then you've got the green line going across, which is the core group of players who are also playing in the first team mostly as well, but get the most substituted, at times also rotated out in between games, like your Joe Lintons, for instance. We know that he can probably play 2 games a week, 2 games in 8 days, and is usually rotated out for the third game, that kind of stuff, or is substituted relatively early, like Murphy is as well. Murphy typically plays 60 minutes, something like that. Then you've got that's in the green. Then you've got the squad players who are played between 0 to 400 minutes. They're in the blue there, right? So I've used this bar chart to be able to identify as objectively as I can, without saying, without kind of. I know there's other things we can look at: age, contracts, performances, all these other things, and you can add the nuance to that. We can do it as we're kind of going through the team, going through the show. But I wanted to kind of use this method to be to kind of even deal with my own biases, right? My own biases, and to be as objective as I can when I'm looking at the teams, right? So let me start off with the attack from going from right to left. What's good about the attack, and I think it's probably in my view our best rotation, our best part of the squad rotation. So if you see Gordon, who I see as a first, probably the first team, or though it's really close between Gordon and Barnes, really. So when I say first team, I think Gordon and Barnes are both first team, and that's why their minutes are so close together, right? And you kind of see what you want to be able to see that more if you can, but it's when I'm not crying if we're not seeing that in every part. Like, it's pretty good. It probably shows that Eddie Howe with these positions, such as probably the minute gap, probably also indicates the quality gap, which is pretty for Eddie Howe, and he can have tactical flexibility with it. So it's really, really good, and it's fairly similar for Ilanga and Murphy. They share even more minutes together as well. So there's good squad rotation, right? The one that sticks out though is Mr. Voltamada, who he by far has been probably beginning to hit red. And you guys mentioned the Mark Douglas report. That same report talked about how Voltamada is beginning to hit red when it comes to kind of overuse, right? And we have to get they really need Wissa to get as fit as quickly as possible. Wissa is, I think, registering 17 minutes played so far this season, something like that, 17 minutes, something like that, right? And the next one is Usola, who is the backup to the backup, and he hasn't even reached 400 minutes this season. He's met 344 minutes. Now, they say he's been injured, and I'm sure you guys have read many reports, especially from Michel Plattenberg and Germany, where they're saying there's a verbal agreement already between Usola and Eintracht Frankfurt. And this is my opinion. I think he's fit. And I think he's just been kept for the January transfer window. I think there's a deal done for it already. This is just my opinion. But at this moment in time, the biggest concern is Voltemada. And so my opinion is I think Newcastle will probably get a replacement for Osola. Osola's not being used. They say he's injured. If he is, fine, but I think reports suggest that he's not, and he's probably going to be sold. So I think we're going to get a versatile forward. I think, and that's a place to identify someone that's going to back up Wissa and Voltemada. So you're probably looking at a young player and young players want minutes. So it's probably going to be a versatile young player who can play across the front three. So that's my first one there. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go to the chats in a moment. Then the centre mid area, which is the central midfield area, or the midfield, right? The midfield, which is the most interesting one. I've got the three amigos here in Gomeres, Tonali, and Joe Linton. 2 out of 3 of them are already high dependency. And the only reason Joe Linton isn't is by 54 minutes. He hasn't crossed the high dependency threshold. And those 54 minutes would have been given in the Leverkusen game had he not come off injured, right? So he's near enough the high dependency area. So these are the players that Eddie Howe wants on the pitch in the midfield area the most. These are the players that in the central midfield, whether people like Joe Linton or not, like Eddie Howe's choices or not, objectively speaking, from just looking at the minutes, Joe Linton, Tonali, and Bruno Gomeres are Eddie Howe's first team midfielders, right? The main issue I have in disparity and in terms of backups for the midfield area, especially, and we've got 6 players there, and we've got 3 players that are on the pitch. So it needs the most rotation. It's one of the most overworked parts of our team. But the greatest disparities between Willock and Tonali, or Willock even, because we know we mixed them around, but Willock, Willock, Joe Linton, Willock, Tonali, Willock, Bruno Gomeres. Willock has played 359 minutes, and he hasn't even met the threshold for a squad player, which is 400 minutes. Now, Willock has not been injured. He's been available. There's times when Eddie Howe has had the opportunity to play him and he hasn't, which tells us a lot. And we know that, if rumors have it, there's some not issues between anything like that, but like he's had his own things to deal with as well. I think he's had a couple good games recently. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing against Fulham. But at this moment in time, when you have a player who we know isn't in the same boat as Ramsey, which is he's not a new player. He's been at Newcastle for 5-6 years, right? Ramsey is integrating and settling in. He isn't in the same boat as Miley, who's an emerging talent. He's 18, 19 years old. And even then, Miley has been playing more minutes than Willock, more minutes than Ramsey, right? So you can already see where we're heading with this in terms of that. So I do think adding to the versatile striker, we probably need another midfielder. And I think it's also, if we also believe some of the rumours, there is some interest from some London clubs, i.e. Palace, in Willock himself. So, but if looking objectively, if we're looking at minutes and we need to keep things fresh, I think Willock, that's where I think that's where we need a better backup for the central midfield areas, right? Now, moving on from there, looking at defense. Now, defense, between all the positions, attack, midfield, and defense is the most worrying. And the Dan Burn injury now, which will go beyond January, adds to the problem, adds to the issues here, because Dan Burn is the man in question we're going to be talking about. And you can see here in the 2 grey charts here that I've got Dan Burn twice. That's because Dan Burn, up to this point, including now, obviously the game in Sunderland, which isn't included here, has been covering the left back role and the left centre back role. And in fact, if you look at transfermarket.com, he's covered both left back at 10 times and something like that, like 10 times, and the left centre back role 11, 12 times, something like that. So it's been that equal, right? And he's been covering Hall and he's been covering Botman at different times. and he's played the most minutes in this team. And if we would, and I see him as a backup. You know, if we started the season with Botman. Botman is meant to be the first choice left centre back, and obviously he's been injured. Hall is the first choice left back, and he's been injured. And so we've got our backup player, our 33-year-old backup player, 6'8", 6'7", playing left back and left centre back. And God bless him, but he's now out for 6 weeks, so there's no backup for them, and we don't have any other backup. Alex Murphy has had 0 minutes. Eddie Howe prefers to use Burn to Alex Murphy. He has loaned out Matt Target compared to Alex Murphy, right? So compared to Dan Burn. So it's very clear, very, very clear that we need a left back, or a left back who can play left centre back, or a left centre back who can play left back, if that makes sense. And I think that's probably easy sell to any potential young player who is willing to go to Newcastle but wants to know if they're going to get minutes. The answer is yes, you are going to get minutes. You are absolutely going to get minutes playing for Newcastle United as a left centre back who can play left back, or a left back who can play left centre back, right? So that's one area. Now, I'm looking at the right back area, and again, I'm going to stay and be objective here, but I'm going to leave this as a caveat. Looking at the right back area, objectively speaking, this is, in terms of minutes and disparity between them, and the minutes of the backup role, it is a healthy position between Livramento, Trippier, right? Trippier's in the grey, like it's almost the same as Elanga, Murphy, Barnes, and Gordon. And so if I stick to this, and I'm sporting director or whatnot, I probably would not prioritize a right back at this time. However, the other caveat is Trippier's 35 years old, and he's got 6 months left on his contract. He's 2 years older than Dan Burn, right? Kraft and Trippier is currently off of a hamstring injury. So we're already vulnerable in our backups. Dan Burn, Trippier, Kraft played like 1-2 games and he's been off. So we're extremely, extremely vulnerable in our right back area, even though the minutes suggest that we're not. So I've got that as a secondary kind of concern, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But at this moment in time, that's where we're at. And the goalkeeper area at the moment, and I've looked at, in terms of minutes and everything else, Ramsdale has covered more minutes, has crossed the threshold of a squad player, and is obviously has been playing, and it's not a priority at this moment in time. If we're looking at just strictly objectively at the minutes themselves, the goalkeeper area isn't a priority. If we're looking at the quality, and I've looked at the FB ref stats and compared the two together, they're very much the same in terms of shot stopping, which is very average. They're not underperforming, they're not overperforming, they're very average. I think the advantage that Ramsdale has is obviously he's good on the ball. But can we upgrade the goalkeeper if we can? Yes. And obviously rumors around Trafford and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to be a priority because of that. If I'm just sticking to the minutes and where we're at, Ramsdale compared to Willock, for instance, Willock hasn't even crossed the squad development threshold, as well as Osola. Ramsdale would still be seen by me, if I was sporting director, as a healthy backup option to Pope, right? And Pope is considered the first team player. He's a high dependency player up to this point as well. So it wouldn't be priority, but it would fit another category, which is the secondary area I'm going to talk about in a moment. So taking this chart alone, I would have a versatile forward for the attack. I would have a midfielder in midfield as backup options, and I would have a left back who can play centre back, or a left back who can play left centre back in those positions. And if really good if they could play right back as well. So I've got three positions, guys. Three positions that I would want Newcastle to I would want as high priority if I'm taking this alone. But let me know what you think about that. We're going to break it down a little bit more, but I've used this as the squad matrix to be able to kind of break it down that way. Let me know your thoughts. Aaron says, "Can we send Elanga and Ramsey back and get our 100 million back? Such bad recruitment." I wouldn't. I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. For me, I'm gonna reserve judgment on them. And I don't think they're as bad as people have been saying they are. I don't think they've been above good, but I don't think they've been as bad as people have said they are. Would we want them to be good and better? Yes, but they're just taking time to settle in. Voltamada, Aaron says Voltamada has been run into the ground. Yep, I agree. He would have been rotated so many times. He wouldn't have started. Elanga can play centrally, not just him. So many instances we didn't rotate, like against Everton. There is that opportunity, but I think there's a reason why Howe isn't doing it, to be honest. I think there's a reason why Howe isn't doing it. Aaron says defense is worrying. Sven Botman quality, but never fit for us. Exactly. And we need him back now. Left back is a glaring problem as well. Right back, I'd like to call up Shahar, but I don't see how he's doing it. He's too young, and I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready. But I see what you're saying. But I feel what you're saying in terms of that. Like, is there more players in the academy that we can go to? Aaron says, we have been linked to Dayen Methalie. You're spoiling my work, Aaron. We're going to be talking about him. But fair play, great player talent. And you can, if you've seen him play, Aaron, do let me know. Fill in the blanks for me. Left centre back, left back from France, the kind of players I want us buying, absolutely. And big up to my man, Harry Scarf. God bless you, sir. Good to see you as always. Guys, do like, share, and subscribe. One of the top content creators. We know the top content creators because he's even winning awards for it and well achieved as well. So always a blessing to see Harry. Hope all is well with you. Right, so like I said, I've tried to be objective and use the numbers, use the disparity between the minutes between backups and starters, and also the quality of those starters. For instance, Willock and Usola not being good enough, and therefore what we need to change. So the players, if I'm looking objectively of where I think the priority signings are this January, if we're going to make anything out of this season, if we're going to actually aim for Champions League, aim for trophies, I think it's going to be a versatile forward that we need, a central midfielder, and a left back who can play left centre back, or a left centre back who can play left back. I'm just going to say left centre back who can play left back, right? So 3 positions. And that's a challenge in itself for a January transfer window in a World Cup year, right? If you're a young player who thinks he can get into the World Cup squad, you're going to want as many minutes as you can as possible. And so you don't want to be back up to anyone. So it's going to be a tough window is what I'm saying. It's going to be a tough window. But those are the areas I see as priority. Now, I talked about secondary, right? In terms of secondary priority. If I'm not looking at the numbers, I'm looking at other areas where we might have to, we really need to, where we know we need to upgrade, and maybe there's an opportunity to upgrade, right? So we talked about Pope and Ramsdale and Trafford, right? So Pope and Ramsdale are both average shot stoppers. They're not below par. They're not above par. They're just average shot stoppers, with Ramsdale being better on the ball with his feet. If we can get a goalkeeper who can be better than average, and they're available, i.e. a Trafford, and everybody's willing to do the deal, and there's no issue with it, that is also that's something that I think Newcastle should go for, regardless if you're worried about squad disharmony at this stage. Cut Ramsdale as loan short, send him back, whatever you need to do. I would recommend a backup, right? But it's secondary for me, in my opinion, at this time. And obviously, we talked about the other one, which is, and that's what I mean by secondary as well, but also opportunity. So rumored, and we know that there could be opportunities for them because we've got rumored exits around Osola, about Kraft to go into Copenhagen possibly. We've barely seen him as well. Joe Willock, we talked about him possibly exiting as well to Crystal Palace. Shaw, Michel Plattenberg talked about him possibly going as well. Though I think Newcastle, even with 6 months left on it, and all these players, apart from Osola, Kraft, and maybe Willock, I think. Shaw and Kraft both got 6 months left. I think Willock's got a year left in his contract. Osola's got about 2 years left in his contract, right? So they're all vulnerable in those types, and they're barely used, right? Apart from Shaw. So I think maybe if Shaw goes, it'd be quite surprising for me. But it means we've probably taken an opportunity to upgrade, right? So that's why I've got it as secondary. And obviously the above players I've talked about already. Left centre back, left back, midfielder, third player. Just looking objectively at the minutes disparity and the lowest backup minutes, right? So those are the areas that I think Eddie Howe is not trusting the backups. Joe Willock, Usola, who's the other guy? Joe Willock, Usola. Who's the other guy? Backup, left back, centre back, versatile forward, Willock, Usola. Who else? Matt Target, Alex Murphy. He's not trusting any of those guys. And even tied to that, Dan Burn is injured. So those are definitely the areas that we need to improve on. Right. So priority, we talked about it. Those are the guys looking objectively at the numbers. And then obviously the secondary players, opportunities to upgrade and to make something of it. So let me know what you guys think of that so far, right? Because we're going to talk about these players in a moment. Let me know what you guys think so far. Aaron says, let me get a Aaron says, we have the Isak money to spend. Samu's a great up-and-coming striker. I do think we should have a look at. It gives us more tactical flexibility, and the evolution I want is a 4-2-3-1 with a Nick in the 10. Okay. You know, Eddie, I see what you're saying, Aaron. Eddie Howe's been very clear that he does not see Voltemada as a 10. I don't think Voltemada is a 10. I think he's a false 9 at best, but he's definitely a 9. He's a 9 to a false 9. That's my opinion on it. I think he's more like a Bobby Firmino, but without maybe the pace that Bobby Firmino has. But there is still possibility for a Samu if, for instance, Wissa goes out to the right and Murphy falls down further down the pecking order. So I don't think it's impossible is what I'm saying as well. And you're right. It adds a different tactical flexibility as well. Aaron says, I do disagree, Philip, on Shaha. He's been playing regularly for England in the youth ranks, and he's outgrown the under-21s, in my opinion. Every time he's played, he's been excellent, very similar to Trippier. Well, fair play. You know what? That was like the same with Miley, like the early days when I saw Miley in the academy as well. I think I saw him when he played in the I can't remember, it was under-21s FA Cup against Arsenal. We lost, but he stuck out like a sore thumb in terms of his ability, his athleticism compared to all the other players. So if you see that in Shaha, fair play, and I'll keep a lookout for him. Are you talking about Daniel Mann? Okay, cool. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that so far. Kind of trying to be objective and kind of identifying players where we need to go. So just to kind of go through that, obviously we talked about it here. Want to do a kind of breaking that down further where we're at in terms of the state of our squad. Obviously the goalkeeping department, we don't need to, it won't be a priority, but if a Trafford is available, do Newcastle make a move? Some journalists have said yes. Others, I think Liam Kennedy has said. I saw a caption of it. Let me know what you guys saw. I haven't read it, so you let me know. I think he thinks, from what I said, he doesn't see it happening. Though I'm not sure on the reasons too much, but it's not a priority. Certainly a secondary area. Then we've got the defensive area where I think we need the most attention to. Certainly a priority in the left side of the pitch. We're going to be talking about Tarik Muharemovic as well today, if we can, as a possible backup, as a possible recruitment player who can play left, who's primarily left centre back, but can play left back as well. Plays for Sassuolo, and John Arambu would be a secondary type of purchase if we're able to, who've been linked to as well. I'm not going to be talking about him today, but that's an example of who could come in and do a job, because at the moment, this January window could see, as I've got undecided, could see Trippier leave, Kraft leave, Shaw leave, all of these guys on 6 months left. All of these guys are like 33 and above. All of these guys at some point during the season have been injured. Trippier and Kraft pretty much mid to long-term injured. Well, more Kraft long-term injured. Just unfortunately too old now to be doing 2-3 games a season. You know, Trippier struggling with 1 game a season. Kraft 1 game per month. So even our backups aren't good enough to be backups at this moment in time. So, but if you look at the minutes at this moment in time, Trippier, obviously he's coming back in the next few weeks. You know, do Newcastle see it as a priority? Possibly not. Maybe a secondary kind of a priority in their opinions. And obviously Alex Murphy isn't getting any minutes, and he's been fit and healthy. So that lets me know that Eddie Howe and the staff don't quite trust him to be a first team player. So definitely improvements needed in the defensive areas. Right. And the midfield area, we talked about it. For me, definitely a priority. Willock, when fit, when available, still has not been used, has not played the 400 minutes just yet, is not even a squad player at this moment in time, though he has made some good starts. I think he might play against Fulham. I think I might want him to play against Fulham, to be honest. But on a consistent basis, for whatever reason, he cannot be relied upon. And I think Newcastle should make the central midfield area a priority. And Alan Andrade Elias has been very strongly linked to us, mainly by Brazilian media. They've been really hot on it. So we're going to be talking about him in future shows to come as well. So let me know if you guys know anything more about him. And as mentioned as well, in the looking for a versatile forward, for instance, the likes of Rayan from Vasco da Gama, because obviously we have injuries. We've had injuries to Wissa, Ursola as well. And I also think Ursola probably isn't staying, in my opinion. I think he's going to be sold on. So that's where we are. And that's kind of the breakdown of what we're doing at this moment in time. And yeah, let me know, guys. Maybe there's other areas you want to fix. How do you like this approach so far? I'll be keen to know. Guys, do remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. It's been phenomenal at that as well. So that's where we are. Now, talking about identifying players, scouting players, and everything else. And as I've mentioned, not only, and this is probably more the good news, right? Not only have we got, for the first time ever, going into a transfer window, PSR headroom and money to spend, but we've got a sporting director, we've got a manager who like each other, we've got a CEO as well. So we're fully ready. Obviously, with the recruitment team, we're fully ready. We've got our ducks in a row in terms of our infrastructure and everything that we're doing to approach this transfer window. But not only that, we've also added a friend of our director, Ross Wilson, his chief scout from Nottingham Forest, Thomas Federspiel. And Thomas Federspiel is a German scout who's primarily who does most of his business, his roles in um, in Brazil, right? And for us, he's going to be our current. He's been recruited as as our first team and global talent scout for Brazil, Ecuador, and Colombia. So hence the reason why Andrade Elias has been heavily linked to us, as well as other Brazilian players that we'll talk about. There's Rayan, for the likes of Rayan. We've had Joel Ordenes as well, who's been linked to us before. And so his appointment started in December 2025. So it kind of highlights our strategy to intensify recruitment in South America and those areas. And before, it was his own. He's got experience. Thomas Friel's got 2 decades worth of experience in scouting, technical roles. His career includes significant time at several prominent Bundesliga clubs and Premier League clubs, obviously Bayer Leverkusen, Wolfsburg, Hoffenheim, Borussia Mönchengladbach. He spent several years in all those areas, notably for Bayern Leverkusen in 2 different periods, head of player recruitment in South America and Asia, before he went to Nottingham Forest, where he was there under Ross Wilson from May 2023 to November 2025. And that's where they spent, if you know anything about Forest transfer business, they've bought a lot of players from Brazil. So he's previously also been a technical director and academy manager in Brazilian clubs, in Santa Rio Branco de Venda Nova. So he's got heavy links in South America. So I don't know, but like I said to you guys, we are fully, not say fully, but we have never had this level of infrastructure and alignment going into a transfer window. We have everything going for us. Whereas before we've, had Paul Mitchell who left us the day before transfer window. We had Dan Ashworth who decided to betray us and be talking to Man United whilst we're about to do a transfer window. Right? So, or otherwise we couldn't spend money for the last 3 transfer window. We've had a sporting director, but we couldn't spend money because of PSR. This time we've got no PSR issues. We've got a sporting director. We've got a manager. We've even got a global scout in South America going into this transfer window. Been linked to tons of these names as well. Dayann we're going to talk about, and Tarik we're going to talk about in this one. But guys, make sure you send me names of other people that you think we've been linked to. Some good, and I will talk about them as well. But tons of young players who've been linked to Newcastle United. So, let's get into it. Big up to Villa fan. Good to see you and God bless you. Good to see you in the chat, man. Good to see you in the chat. Villa breaking, I think that's like 11 wins in a row. Insane. Right. So these are the 2 players I'm going to talk about. Dayen Methalie and Tarik Muharemovic. So they're both Tarik is a left centre back. Dayann is more of a left back. But we're going to talk about them in a minute. And let me know which one you would see us going for. And let me know if you know them as well. I think Aaron knows a little bit about Dayann, so we'll talk about him as well. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. I do think that Aaron says I do think there's a question with J7. He's not long got long on his contract. Yeah, 2028. I think he's getting on. He's getting on financially. It makes sense. Well, Marley probably is the natural successor. But probably on the left side is probably Ramsey, isn't it? Have you come here for? You're talking to Villa. Breaking news: Eddie Howe makes a £40 million bid for Marcus Tavernier. You've got a laughing emoji there, Adrian. So I don't know if you're serious or not. Let me know if you're serious. I wouldn't be surprised though, because we did talk about Marcus Tavernier before and how much of a utility player he is. We did a really good scouting on him and he had a really good game today, but I don't know if you're pulling my leg or what's going on, but let me know. Villa fan says, I was frustrated at the start of the season, Adrian. Oh, you're talking to Adrian. Aaron says, if we get Ordenes and Methalie, as well as a left back, that would be ideal. Ordenes, Methalie, and yes. Is it Methalie a left back? Or do you see Methalie as a left centre back? Let me know. But yes, otherwise I agree, definitely. Move on Shaw and Lascelles and Kraft. Get young players to build for the future. Yeah, 100%. 100%. You got a new sporting director. Big up, big up. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, I talked about Tarik Muharemovic, and the reason why this is a quote from the Sport article, and Sport art. So by the way, Tarik is of Bosnian descent, although he was born in Slovakia, so he's got Slovakian citizenship, but he plays for Bosnia, and he's of Bosnian descent. Why I mention that is that Sport, the article here, are a Bosnian newspaper or a Bosnian media outlet. And if you guys remember from the summer transfer window, I am a fan of looking at articles. It's a joke about Tavernier. I am a fan of articles, of kind of leading to articles from foreign newspapers, because I think especially probably our more mainstream reporters, God bless them, I do think they're getting good information, but I think there's reasons why they get information. Like, for instance, so I think I like the foreign newspapers. I like, even with the Sheshko one, I know it didn't come to pass, but I don't know if you guys remember, we looked at this local. Where is Sheshko from? I can't remember if he's from Slovakia as well, Slovenia. And they had up-to-date information, and it was accurate. Obviously, we didn't get him, but they explained what happened and everything else. Anyway, to me, so I do looking at foreign newspapers, especially from those players' homelands, right? So Bosnian newspaper covers, a Sport cover is a Bosnian newspaper, a media outlet that covers it's not just Bosnian footballers, but Bosnian sports personalities and professionals, right? And they've got some really interesting information, as opposed to like our more mainstream journalists. So, for instance, we talked about Keith Smith recently, and we all know, literally 2 weeks ago, we all talked about this when Craig Hope and Keith Downey both had reports on Keith Smith saying Newcastle are looking at him, this, and that, and we all said Newcastle are just sending a red flare up to. No, the agent of Keith Smith and AZ Alkmaar just letting people know that he's there for sale. This is the price, and Newcastle are being used as the stalking horse to get him over to see if they can make a sell. And lo and behold, now Chelsea are front runners for him, right? As opposed to if Keith Smith wasn't being announced by our mainstream guys like Craig Hope and the other guys. It's not to say that they don't get things right, they do, but I think there's a reason why agents and clubs use them. But if in Keith Smith's it was only like Dutch newspapers or like articles are talking about it, I probably would be talking about it a little bit more. And that's the case here for Mr. Tarik Muharemovic. So Sport is a Bosnian newspaper, as I was saying. So this is a direct quote from them. I had to get it on Google Translator. And it reads, Tarik Muharemovic could make a spectacular transfer this winter. Interest in the phenomenal Bosnian defender is huge, and Sassuolo can hardly resist the offers that are coming in. The 22-year-old stopper, is a centre-back, left centre-back, has been linked with numerous clubs, especially Italian ones. But now, and I like what they say here, but now another big name has joined the game. As Sport learns, English giants. All right, Newcastle wants Tarik. Now, according to information obtained by Sport, Newcastle have prepared an offer. Now, this is really interesting. This is what they're saying. Newcastle have prepared an offer for Muharemovic. They want him as early as January and are ready to pay 11 million euros in compensation. This is interesting. Because obviously my initial thoughts are who, why, what, when, how. And I would think this is probably coming from Muharemovic's agent, who I would assume is probably Bosnian as well, or family, or people definitely around Muharemovic himself, who are letting, where they have, obviously they got links to this media outlet. And they've let them know that Newcastle have made an offer. It'll be interesting to see if it comes to pass, but it adds to why obviously we're talking about him today. Let me know what you guys think about that. So, player profile of Tarik. He's 22 years old, Bosnian professional footballer, plays at centre back for Serie A Sassuolo, and also at left centre back, and can play left back as well. He's tall. He's 6'2". His preferred foot is left, so he's left-footed, and he is valued between 7.8 to 10.6 million euros at this moment in time, which is good value. So at the moment, he's had a senior career at Wolfsburg, prior to Sassuolo, before he moved to Juventus in 2021, primarily playing for the reserve team, Juventus Next Gen. So he would have been like, 18? In 2024, he was loaned to Sassuolo, a move made permanent the following year. He was a key player in Sassuolo's 24-25 season in Serie B title win. So he's got good minutes and good experience playing at a lower level, and also now in Serie A, which secured the promotion back to Serie A. He has represented Bosnia and Herzegovina at various youth levels and made senior international debut in 2024, earning 10 caps. So he's got a good pedigree. So he's a left-footed defender, known for his aerial dominance, composure, and strong ball interceptions and blocking. So good profile there. Young, massive, athletic, left-footed. Definitely goes with what Newcastle need at this moment in time. Now, before we look at his stats, I wanted to first, and kind of understood where he's coming from, I wanted to look at Sassuolo and what type of team they are. And I'll go to the chat in a moment. I wanted to look at Sassuolo and what kind of team they are, because as we know, those kind of things add to why we see certain stats in the first place. So if a team is counter-attacking, you're probably going to see more tackling. If a team is more high pressing, you're probably going to see more interceptions and high turnovers in the final third compared to a player that plays for a team that's counter-attacking. That doesn't mean that one player can't do the other, but it would add some context to why we're seeing certain stats more than others, right? So I looked at, so I used Opta Analyst to look at Sassuolo's PPTA, so that, their level of pressing, their average possession, their start point, so where were they on typically on the pitch, their attacking style, their shot quality, efficiencies, and other vulnerabilities, to kind of see what kind of team Mr. Tarik is playing for and what kind of stats we're likely to see from him as well. So Sassuolo's metrics point to a picture of a team that is highly unusual, high risk, with a highly unusual and high risk strategy, right? So they have a defensive approach. So Sassuolo utilize a passive mid to low block style with 45% average possession. So they don't have the ball too many times. So his possession stats might be quite low. So their defense is fragile as they allow a high percentage of opponent shots to come from inside the penalty area, 65.56 in the box. But they have an offensive focus. Their attack is direct. So within 3 to 3.5 passes per sequence, and focused on creating elite close range chances. It's probably quite similar to Newcastle, right? So I'm already kind of thinking that we're going to see some possible. It's going to be interesting to look at his passing stats, because in order to do that, you're going to have centre backs that are good at that. And key to their survival has been the team's success in unsustainably high level of clinical finishing. So the XG is really high. They're scoring far more goals than the statistical quality of chances they're creating. So in summary, Sassuolo are structurally vulnerable in the defensive areas. So, it's going to be to see his tackling stats and everything else. And although they're a direct attacking team whose results are disproportionately boosted by the exceptional finishing of their attackers. So I pulled out all that Opta Analyst stats into the AI to kind of put this and produce this. So let's look at his FB ref stats, remember now, they kind of a low possession team, Sassuolo, and they are fairly vulnerable in their defense, though they're very direct in their attack. So it's going to be interesting to see his tackling and his passing stats, where they're at. Here's Tarik. And guys, let me know if you've seen Sassuolo play. Let me know if you've seen Tarik play, obviously, for Sassuolo as well. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. He's currently on 14,000 euros per week, which is no problem for us. Now, statistically, before we get into it, he's being compared to Christian Romero, modern ball playing centre back at the top there. And I can see Jeremy Jacquet, who I haven't seen play, but there's been a lot of hype around his name recently. So he's in good company statistically so far this season with teams. So let me look at his full scouting report before we look at some highlights of him as well. So can you guys see that? Yes, you can. So let's have a look at him and see what we're saying here. Let's see this. Let me go back here. All right. So what's interesting, he's got non-penalty goals. I can't remember how many goals he's got. I think he's got like 2 goals this season, something like that. But he's quite high for this obviously compared to other centre backs. He's got 80 percentile for goals and shots in total. So that's interesting to see. Like this is per 90. He gets quite a few shots and non-penalty goals for a centre back. So it's an attacking centre back. It's got assists as well. It's very high in the assists. Again, which goes with playing as part of a team that's super direct in their attack, isn't it? So again, that probably suits some of our counter-attacking, counter-pressing style as well in terms of what we're doing. So he's very much taking on a ball-playing goalkeeper role. What's interesting here, his passing stats here, if you look at pass completion, is at 84%. Now he's playing for a team that's on average got 45%. So it's not surprising to see him in a 19% percentile when he's with a team that doesn't have much of the ball in the first place and isn't great in the build-up either. But he has good, successful take-ons. So it shows that he's got a lot of carrying the ball responsibilities for a team that has very low possession. A 67% percentile for tackles made, so pretty average there. Again, they talked about there's a bad structure or a poor structure in Sassuolo itself. In the 80 percentile for interceptions. Now they are mid to low block teams, so there does show to me that there's definitely a hint of good anticipation from him. And how would he be playing for a better quality team would be interesting as well. As I mentioned, his goals and assist stats are high, 99 percentile as well. So again, he's playing for a direct team. That's something that we're looking at. Modern centre back for sure. Really good shooting stats, as we talked about, goals as well. Now again, like we talked about, the passing stats look awful, right? 56 percentile here. Short passes, 93 percentile. He's in the completed. I don't know how that's in the 56 percentile, which is interesting, but it is where it is. Again, is playing for a team that's got 45% average possession stats. So it's not surprising to see that his stats are very, very low in those areas. But there is indicators to show his goals and assists that he is good, and his take-ons show that he's good. Now, there's another example here of that. Switches of play, something that Shah's very good at. He's in the 85 percentile for this. So that shows that he is a good ball-playing centre-back. And hence why we're looking at him. Dead ball passes, 79% now. Passes from free kicks, 91 percentile, which indicates to me Sassuolo rely on him in free kick situations. They rely on him on through passes as well, switches to create and to be direct. Remember, they're a direct team. They usually create attacks from, within about 3 passes. So it's not surprising to see these type of stats really high. And it looks like he's uh, uh, his stats, that he's the one that they rely on to do that as well. I was looking at passes blocked by the opponent standing in his path. So some of his passes get blocked as well. So there's a lot of pressure on him, responsibility on him to create the chances for the team as well. And then he's in the 99 percentile for successful take-ons that lead to a shot attempt, right? So he's good ball carrier, probably good at taking the ball on. Well, clearly he is good at taking the ball on to the point where it leads to shot. He's got a lot of responsibility in creating either through his passing or through his ball carrying for a team, again, who have very, very low possession of the ball itself, right? So Sassuolo are like, I think, mid-table somewhere in the Serie A as well, newly promoted team. So a lot of responsibility on him to create for the team as well. Goal creating actions, 87 percentile. Again, going back to what he's responsible to. So these are two offensive actions that are leading to a goal, such as passes, take-ons, and drawing fouls. A single player can receive credit for multiple actions and shot take, and the shot taker can also have received credit. So he is very much at the forefront of their goal creating actions, their take-ons and everything else. Shots that lead to another goal scoring shot as well, 99 percentile. So he's very, very creative. So he's different. So he would definitely be an upgrade in terms of his ball carrying and his passing to Dan Burn, and his ability to create with his ball carrying and his passing as well. Good to see some defensive attributes there, which is shot blocked, 85 percentile. He's going to be doing that a lot playing for Sassuolo. Interceptions is in the 80 percentile. So it's showing some good anticipation there, which is good. Tackles and interventions in the 77 percentile. I'd expect that to rise playing for Newcastle. Quite 47 percentile for errors. Mistakes leading to an opponent's shot. With all that pressure, responsibility on him to do long passes, switch plays, successful take-ons, it's unsurprising for me to that also to lead to errors. I would expect that to reduce for him playing for Newcastle, right? So touches in defensive in his own area is in the 78 percentile. Touches in his defensive third, 79 percentile. So he's talking about the build-up. He's pretty responsible for that for them as well. Successful take-ons we talked about. Successful take-on percentage, 88 percentile. Very good. Times tackled during take-ons, 92 percentile. So number of times tackled by the defender during a take-on. So there's a lot of responsibility on him there, as we talked about. Tackle during take-on percentage. So percentage of time tackled by defender during a take-on attempt, minimum 5 take-on squad per game to qualify as a leader. Wow. So he's having to carry the ball quite a bit there for them. Again, 97 percentile for missed controls, attempt to gain control of the ball. So he gets dispossessed. So someone those are extremely high as well. So it looks like he's got a lot of responsibility with the ball. That's leading to errors. That's leading to missed controls. So there's a lot of room and space for development there. You can see he's low for aerial duels 53 percentile. I saw ball recoveries 21 percentile. That's probably because he's having to spend a lot of time in his own area, but also, yeah. So definitely areas to improve. Aerials 59.1% is in the 47 percentile. So there's definitely areas there for him to improve on. But it looks like his ball carrying is something that's really an important tool, an important weapon. So let's look at some highlights for him before we go on to Dayan. But if anyone's watched him before, do let me know. Let me know what you think of him so far. For me, it's definitely a raw. From what I can see at 22, this is his first time in this level of competition in Serie A. Obviously, he came from Serie B, where he achieved a promotion. We know all about promotion. So it shows resilience and character. He's playing for a team who are structurally not good defensively. They've got 45% possession, as we talked about, and from what we've seen, he's got a lot of responsibility in carrying the ball, in take-ons, and creating chances, and he's really high in his shot creating actions for the team, in his passing, in his assists, and everything else. A lot of that's coming from him. So you can see why I think there's a lot of I think there's you can see that there is why Newcastle. There's a lot of reasons why Newcastle are looking at him. To be honest, in terms of his ball playing ability, there's areas to work on for sure, but some of those I think can be smoothed out playing for Newcastle. But let me know what you guys think. Good to see you, Ashton. God bless you. Oh, Adrian as well. So just above. Do we reckon Botman is away in January? I doubt it. But I think the likes of Tarik will be a backup option because I don't know if you saw earlier, Adrian. I was doing the minutes for the squad rotation and backups to the starters, and that's an area that we need to look at. And so someone like Tarik would fit the bill for that. Ashton says, we have to bounce back against Fulham and I will be happy again. Don't worry. Be happy. Ashton also says, if we bounce back against Fulham and get to the semi-final, do you think it mends the cracks a bit? Yeah, and for sure. I think it will definitely give us a second wind. For sure, I think it gives us a second wind. Oh, but so that's for me. Aaron doesn't think so because of the manner. He says, I don't think it does, to be honest, because of the manner of what we lost yesterday, especially in Derby. It's going to be a lot more to put right. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I think if we win, we'll move on. We have to get used to this, guys. This is what the big time looks like, guys. We talked about it before we started. We said it's going to be a big. When you're playing Champions League, this is the big boy table. It's a big week. We said, look, Champions League, can we stay in it? We've got the points for staying in it. Can we get points on the board against Sunderland? Can we get points, which we didn't? Can we also qualify for the semi-final? Big week. This is what big elite times go. And this isn't just a maturing process and growth process for this team. It's a growth process for us fans. This is what the big time looks like. You're going to have big weeks like this, that in a space of 8 days, you're going to have 3 games where you're playing Champions League, you're playing against your biggest rivals, and you're playing to have a chance to be in the semi-final for the 3rd time in 4 years. If we're going to just fall apart every time and say there's cracks and we're falling over, I'm probably just aimed at anybody, but this is what the big time looks like, guys. Right? We're not fighting relegation anymore. We're trying to compete for trophies. We're trying to compete for the league. We're going to go through these ups and downs. We have to get used to it. This is what it looked like, guys, when we were regularly in the Champions League under Sir Bobby Robson. This is what it looked like. So we have to become a bit more robust to that. So tons of stuff there. People talking about Jeremy Jacquet. Let me know if that's someone you want me to look at, Aaron. I'll have a look at him as well. But let's start looking at the highlights. Ashton says, I don't want to sound deluded, but if we beat Fulham, then I think it mends the cracks a bit, guys. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, guys. For me personally, this is it. This is the elite level, guys. This is right. We have to get used to this. We have to act like we belong. We have to act like belong. And that sometimes means you take your licking, you keep on ticking. You lose to your biggest rivals, you better make sure you then qualify for the semi-final for the League Cup. That's just how it goes, guys. That's what it's going to be if we want to be in the League Club. Big up to my man, Mitch from where the Owls lie. Big up to you. So where the eye sleeps. Sorry, good to see you guys. Hope you guys like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. Yeah, transfer talk. Big up to him. Big up to you. So let me know if you know Mr. Tarik. We're going to look at him in a moment. His ears are in the wrong place. Somebody's ears in the wrong place. It says, I don't think Botman has any resale value at the moment with all the injuries. No way we can sell now. He will come back good. One of the best centre-backs in the league. Again, absolutely. Absolutely. Big up the Toon. Good to see Bobby Fairby. God bless you. Big up Toon. Big up, bless up Philip. Just chin up, boys. Bobby knows all about Champions League and playing 3 times a week, playing for Chelsea. And he'll tell you this is all a part of the game. Big games, week in, day out, every 2-3 days. This is what it's all about. Now let's have a look at Mr. Tarik, centre back, left centre back, who can play left back. We've talked about him playing for a team in Sassuolo, low possession team. Talking about cracks, they've got cracks in their defense, but he's got a lot of responsibility in creating opportunities. He's got shots and goals and assists for them, switches of play for them, successful take-ons. So he's got lots of ball playing ability, but he's also got high errors as a result of that, high miscontrols, low aerial duels. Is that part of the structure? Is that part of him? Is there enough raw talent there to suggest that, hey, he is good enough for Newcastle United? He's 22 years old, Bosnia international. Let's see what we got here. So you see a lot of you can see them always seeing some passion there. Tall, 6'2", a lot of sliding tackles. You know, he's going to be doing a lot of those tackles playing for Sassuolo. So good to see him there, being aware of that. It kind of reminds me of Malik Chow when he's running across like that as well. One-on-ones. I didn't see the stats for the one-on-ones. Good tackle there. Really good last dip channel there. You can imagine he's having to do that week in, week out playing for Sassuolo. And he's got character to be able to, look at that last minute character, Serie B, to get Serie A qualified, to get them promoted. It takes character. So I'm not surprised that Eddie Howe's looking at him. I think Eddie Howe likes those type of players. What's interesting to see, a lot of these highlights, look at that, taking shots, him on the other end taking shots. This is him with his, I think with his passing. No, that's him cutting out there. I'm surprised they haven't showed his passing just yet. Because he's doing a lot of switches of play. There we go. There you go. Bang. And that's what he is capable of. That's what he is capable of. And that's where a lot of his responsibilities are for the team in creating. That's where the shot creating actions come from. That's why they're so high. You know, that's why it's like an 80, 90 percentile aisles for these ones. This is the responsibility that he has in doing those type of things. These type of passes there, making these type of runs. And it's on the left side for Gordon. You can imagine for Gordon, for Barnes, that's him playing a bit more centrally. So you can see a lot of good ball playing action from him there. Passes over the top. Again, we talked about that. Dead balls as well. Set pieces. He's got a lot of responsibilities there. I wonder if they'll show him doing some take-ons as well, because he's doing a lot of those. First time ball. Out of trouble. Again, look at that. He's having this is where the assists come from, the shot creating actions coming from. He's the guy that's responsible for all of these things. Oh, good last ditch tackle there. I wonder if they show him do a take on. I want to see how he does it. See a couple more, and then we'll move on to Dayan. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Look at that. There we go. That's him on the ball there. That's where it all comes from. Switches of play. He's got that responsibility. Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. That's where we got it. That's where the successful take-ons come from. That's his ability. And that's why Newcastle are looking at him. That's what the shooting is. Remember, goals and assists for this guy in the top percentile for a centre-back. He won that header. Bang. So let me know what you guys think of him before we go on to Dayan. Really interesting player. Really, really, really interesting player to observe, to talk about, to look at. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are for Mr. Tarik. So it looks like Newcastle have put an offer for him, as we talked about. Let's see if it's true. Nubo Doc says the new FM engine looks amazing. Good. Football Manager, right? It looks like real life. Aaron says he loves a tackle. I do love that. Want to see more of him on the ball going forward. Definitely has Fabian Schär like attributes. I agree. Absolutely, Aaron. I agree. Looks more a centre back than a LB. Yeah, yeah. So, but let me ask you, Aaron, anybody else, if because they said he can play left back, could he play left back better than Dan Burn? I think he probably can because of his ability to do his ability in take-ons and his passing range. So that's where I see it as well. So if Newcastle, because remember, what's going to be difficult for Newcastle to do at this time before the World Cup? If you're a young player who has a chance to get to the World Cup and you need minutes, if you just say you've got a specialized role, but you have to. He says I can play better than Tampa, probably. Um, but if you need minutes or what, just minutes anyway, and you say, oh, you can only play left back, and oh, by the way, you're behind Lewis Hall, future England international, you're probably not going to take it. But if you can play two positions and be back up for both positions, I think you're more likely to take it. So that's Tarik over there. We're going to keep a lookout for him. Supposedly, Bosnian, like I said, Bosnian newspaper Sport says we've put an offer down for him. Let's see what happens. But guys, if you've got any more players you want me to look at, let me know. One more player for us. Got tons of, and I'm going to be doing this even when we're doing pre-match previews leading up to the transfer window and through the transfer window. We are going to get into transfer mode right off the bat. Right. Dayen Methalie. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. We've been mentioning him throughout the chat as well. Dayan is a 19-year-old French footballer who primarily plays in defense. Guys, let me know, by the way, in the media, what are the media outlets saying about him? Because I wasn't overly clear. Have we put a bit down? Is it just internal talks? Because what I've seen is internal talks, which is interesting. Who primarily plays as a defender for Ligue 1 club Toulouse. He is noted for his pace, power, and personality on the left side of defense. Okay. Um, so he's 6'1", so he's an inch shorter than Tarik. Position defender, primarily centre back, left wing back, and I think he's got the pace for it as well. So it's going to be interesting to look at him. Career overview: Methalie is an academy graduate of Toulouse, having joined the youth system in 2014. So what's that, 10 years ago? So he would have been 10 years old. Toulouse has been his club. So for him to leave is a big thing. Big thing. If he were to leave, right? Especially to come to England, it'd be a big thing. Right. So he signed his first professional contract in 2024. So only last year. So he's like their version of Lewis Miley. And he made his senior league debut in August 2025. So this year he made his senior debut. Crazy. So he's lacking a little bit in experience compared to Tarik. Earning a praise as a revelation, he has represented France at various youth international levels, including under 19s and under 29 and under 21 teams as well. And to play for France youth, you got to be good, right? So he's got some good pedigree there. So he's had a breakout performance, generating transfer interest from the likes of Newcastle United. Okay. So before we go into his stats and his on FBref, let's look at Toulouse. What their current playing style is, so we get kind of a kind of feel for what we can expect from what we're going to see from him as well, right? So Toulouse are essentially a low block passive press. The team is deliberately non-possession and non-pressing. Some might describe Newcastle as that. They conserve energy and defend deep. Yeah, I think they might describe us as that. My camera might go off. Yeah, I knew it. Sorry, guys, my camera's gone off. Let me see if I can fight back and get it back on stage. Can I get my camera back? All right. So can I get my camera back? Toulouse. All right. So as I said, so low block and passive press. Newcastle, their offensive style, to their hyper direct, just like Sassuolo. They actually do their passes. Their attacks are fast, few touch, and start deep in their own half. And you can look at it there, 2.96 passes to get their attacks off. They're even more direct than Sassuolo are. So it's interesting that if Mr. Dayen Methalie's passing stats, switches of play, take-ons, are going to be probably quite high, just like Tarik's are, because maybe let's see if he's got that responsibility in his first year as well. So the extreme, they got extremely high workload defensively. They are busy, aggressive without the ball, and focused on disruption and clearing danger. So I haven't seen his stats just yet. That's why I'm talking like this. I'm expecting that his tackling stats possibly are going to be quite high. Some of his off the ball work is going to be quite high as well. Defensive quality, they're vulnerable but resilient. So they allow opponents into dangerous areas and lose more ground duels than they win, but their high volume of blocks and clearances are great. And clearances, where is it? Areas they allow opponents in dangerous areas and lose more ground duels than they win, but their high volume of blocks and clearances attempts to compensate. So there's some physical. They got some issues around physicality for sure. And so they're kind of relying on clearances. And so I expect some of his clearances to be quite high. It'd be interesting to see what his ground duels and aerial duels are like. Is he a little bit higher than what they're achieving at the moment? Because if you look at their ground duels, the average team ground duels is 48.1%. Let's see if he's doing better than the team. Attacking wise, they're slightly clinical with low quality. They take low quality shots from far. Wow, but finish them slightly above, which keeps their goal count respectable. So they're not getting much chances in the penalty box. They're a very low pressing team, clearances and blocks, losing ground duels. Let's see if he's getting a little bit higher than usual compared to the rest of his team. Aaron says if it's him or Methalie, Tarik or Methalie, I'm taking Methalie all day. Great talent, amazing attributes, has come to grow and has a really high ceiling. Okay, well let's have a look at Mr. Methalie's. Let me take this off. Let's have a look at Mr. Methalie's stats. First year and senior professional team, his first contract as well, but we haven't got his contract up there. I imagine it's somewhere like $5,000 or something like that, 5,000 euros low, right? Okay, so let's get his stats up. Let's see who he's been compared to. He's been compared to Jayden Bogle from Leeds. I like Jayden Bogle, really good on the ball as well. Good, really works really, really hard off the ball as well. Alex Jimenez from Bournemouth, we just watched them as well. They had a good game as well. Jackson Chuo from Wolverhampton. So he's been linked to quite like athletic, strong, dribbly type of players. So let's look if he's got. So this is him compared to other fullbacks, right? Like I said, keep in mind he plays for Toulouse, a low blocking, relatively passive team as well. They're lacking an athleticism and ground duels and tackling. They're having to do a lot of clearances and blocks. They're having to do a lot of really direct play, like literally within 3 passes, trying to get into the opponent's half. So I'm not expecting high possession stats for him. Let me see if you guys can see that. Yes, you can. Okay, so unlike Tarik, we're going to compare him to Tarik. Obviously, he's got he's got very low non-penalty goals and shots on target. That's fine, but successful take-ons 94 percentile. So he's very much seen as number of defenders taken on successfully by dribbling past the team. Unsuccessful take-ons included attempts where dribbler retained possession but was unable to get past the defender. So really good. He has a lot of successful take-ons, 94 percentile, playing for a team that doesn't. So you can imagine him being a big outlet for them. Progressive passes received. Now this is interesting. 72 percentile. This could be higher, or would be higher, I think, if you play for a team that had more possession of the ball. So progressive passes received. These are completed passes that move the ball towards the opponent's goal line at least 10 yards from its furthest point. So he's having to do a lot of work going up the pitch into the opponent's half and receiving the ball down that side as well. So a lot of like Tino Livramento type of stuff. Or any completed passes excludes passes from defending 40% of the pitch. So he's 72%. I think this would be higher as well. So that's really interesting. Really, really, really. And his touches in the attacking penalty area, 80 percentile. So yes. So he's, again, just remember he's playing for Toulouse, right? Low block, low possession, low ground duels winning team. Very direct in their attacks. He's the guy that's receiving the ball, but also progressing the ball. So a lot of responsibility upon him to be able to do that. So you can see there's some really good raw attributes there for him in terms of what he's doing. Shooting, so shots on target, he's 90 percentile as well. So he's an attacking left back, or how did they see him as a fullback? So yeah, left back. He's a fullback. So he's a left back. So shots total 63 percentile, but shots on target, so it's very accurate. So even though he's in the 63 percentile, he's got really good quality on his shots by the looks of it. 90 percentile. Shots on target percentage. Percentage of shots that are on target, minimum 0.395 shots. So 96 percentile. So he's really good at striking the ball by the looks of it as well. So that's really interesting to see. But look, playing for a team that's got hardly any possession, he's going to be in the lowest pass completion, 74 percentile. They're not interested. Toulouse are not interested in holding the ball whatsoever. This is not him. This is Toulouse. But you got to ask yourself, does he have the quality on the ball? Probably. If he's doing take-ons, if he's the one that's having to receive the ball in the opposition half, he's probably good at passing. He's probably good at being on the ball as well. Pass completion, long, 71 percentile. Playing, it's going to be a lot of low percentiles here for crosses low, throw-ins low, in swinging corners. So he's not taking those corners. Passes blocked, 85 percentile. We talked about shots, clearance. This is the type of team they are. I'm looking forward to seeing his ground duels for sure. 65 percentile, fouls drawn. Interesting. Fouls drawn that lead to a goal, 98 percentile. That's because he's the guy that's having to receive the ball on the other end. Interesting. Now, here we go. Remember this. He's playing for a team that are like 45% average for winning ground duels. Tackles. Number of players tackles is in the 86 percentile. Not bad. Tackles won, 74 percentile. Tackles in which the attacker's team won possession of the ball. Okay. Tackles in his defensive third, 81 percentile. He's having to do a lot of defending. Tackles look at this. Tackles in the attacking third. Remember, his team doesn't spend too much time in the tackle third. In the attacking, in the opponent's attacking third, 93 percentile. 93 percentile. And this is the stat I really like. Percentages of dribblers tackled. Dribblers tackled divided by dribblers tackled divided by the number of attempts to challenge or an opposing dribbler. So he's tackling a lot of, obviously he's having to tackle a lot of wingers, inside forwards. He's in the 99 percentile. He's 83.3% success rate. So he's really good at tackling. Challenges lost, number of unsuccessful attempts to challenge the dribbling player. So he's also having to do a lot of tackling as well. He's busy playing for Toulouse, really. So on the one hand, his percentages is really high in winning challenges. On the other hand, is also very high for losing them as well. That's what happens when you're playing for for teams like that. But again, you got to ask yourself: is there enough ingredients to suggest that yes, he's got the quality to be a good tackler, to be strong in his ground duels? Yeah, I think there is. I don't know if I saw aerial duels though. Did I see any aerial duels? Where's the aerial duels? Errors, interceptions, passes, challenges lost. It's funny I didn't see any aerial duels. But here we go. Possession. Toulouse, low possession team. We talked about the penalty area where it's high. Take-ons attempted, he's high. He's the one responsible for that. Successful take-ons, 94 percentile. So a lot of ability on the ball there. Carries into the penalty area, 98 percentile. So this is where they're looking at the raw data for him, playing for a team like Toulouse who don't like to go into the penalty area for whatever reason. He's the guy that's carrying them into those areas as well. Gets a lot of offsides, 92 percentile. So he's pushing the boundaries here. He's trying to get them up the field. Low crosses, penalty kicks 99%. So he's very, very attacking. Aerials, oh goodness gracious. Here we go. Goodness. And this is where the work needs to be done. Percentages of areas won, 36.4%. He's in 12 percentile. Areas lost, 90 percentile. He is a left back, and he's playing for a team that aren't good at winning. He's definitely a left back, right? I imagine Lewis Hall's got similar. Well, let me look at Lewis Hall. Let's look at Lewis Hall. Let's compare him to Lewis Hall, but take into consideration, right? I forgot. How do we compare? Let me compare him to Lewis Hall. Remember, he's playing for Toulouse, who are different to Newcastle, different league, different culture, different team, different playing style, different manager, all those things. But let's see, just before we look at some highlights of him, how does he compare to Lewis Hall in some of these areas? Oh, that's England Lewis Hall. Are they going to give me Lewis Hall with not his entire career? Yeah, this season. And let's get results, and then we'll look at some highlights. Let me know who would you guys for so far? Who would you go for, Tarik or for Dayan? All right, so Lewis Hall, for instance, has played 16 matches this season. Sorry, 9 matches. Dayan's played. We won't go through all of it, but he's played 16. So you have to keep that in mind. So I want to look at goal creation, defensive actions, tackles per 90. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. So Dayan, 2.64 tackles compared to Lewis Hall's 3.45. Tackles won, 1.47 compared to Lewis Hall's 2.41. He first season in the pros, you can see the difference already. Defensive third. It'd be interesting to see though Lewis Hall when he first started, though, right? Those are the stats you really want to see. Defensive third, 1.4, 0.86 to Lewis Hall. It's because he's having to do a lot more than Lewis Hall. Now, this is the interesting part. Tackle percentage of dribblers tackled, 83.3 for Dayan, 70 percentage. This is 1 compared to Lewis Hall. This is 1. This is not attempt. This is 1. So there's a quality here that you can see here where perhaps he even has over Lewis Hall just there in tackles 1. That's super interesting. There was the where is the I was looking for ground duels, aerial duels, interceptions. Dayan 3. And tackling interceptions 3.49, Lewis Hall 4.48. A lot less errors for him, for Dayan, 0.08 errors, 0.17 for Lewis Hall, though it's arguable that Lewis Hall has the more responsibility. So interesting. But again, this is Dayan's first season. in the pros. He's playing for a team that's very low in possession, very porous in defense. They're having a lot and very bad, very low in being able to physically impose themselves on teams in ground duels and aerial duels. They're doing a lot of blocks, clearances, that kind of stuff. But he's showing in the tackles that he's winning, in the shots that he's making, in the runs in the penalty box, in the responsibility he has on take-ons, and the responsibility he takes on in um, for receiving the ball, taking the ball into the attacking areas, that he's definitely got the qualities to be a really good player. But he's very young. He's not even Lewis Miley. He's a good couple of years behind Lewis Miley and Lewis Hall. Very young, very raw, but he might just be the type of player that will be useful for Newcastle at this point in time. Would he be a good backup though? Let me know. So I'm going to show some highlights of him in a moment. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Guys, God bless you all. Good to see 10 folks in the chat. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Good to see a lot of names here that I haven't seen for a while. Oliver, good to see you, sir. God bless you. We're going over time a little bit, so I'm really thankful for you guys to be here. Really good to have you guys. Oliver says, can't believe how useless we are, Phil. I'll take 10 million for 3 for Ilanga right now. Sell him to Gateshead. Wow. We'll get better, Oliver. All right. So let's see a little bit of Mr. Dayen Methalie. And I want you guys, remember, we just saw Tarik, who's a left centre back, but can play left back. And we're now watching Dayan, who is very much a left back. But can he play left centre back? Now, left centre back probably, if we get Dayan and Burn gets fit, Botman gets fit, you probably don't need him. So it's interesting to see. Who would you guys go for? Let me know. All right, let's see if we can get Mr. Dayan. Always love it when Brazil scouts got it on. So just a quick pause here. He's been compared to similar players. Now on FB Ref, they got him compared to Mr. Bogle from Leeds. Here they got Ferland Mendy of Real Madrid, Destiny Udogie of Tottenham, and Alexandro, I don't know from where, but he's there. Best attributes: pace, agility, stamina, athleticism, tackling, interceptions, dribbling, acceleration, versatility. Weaknesses: first touch mistakes. And that's true. There was a scouting report that I read that was the case. So that seems to be a thing that's following is that first touch. Positions: left back, left wing back, centre back. 6'1". Let's have a look at him and what he can produce. He's Toulouse Academy graduate, has been playing there since he was 10 years old, so he's very much a local lad from what we can see. Mr. Dayan. Let's have a look. Oh, and France international, under 19s and under 21s. So very good pedigree for him. So you can see him there playing for France. Lovely take. That's with his right foot. He's a left-footed player. Brilliant goal. That's him out wide. Great challenge there. I would love to see his stats for France for the under 19s. Great. Yeah, you can see why his tackling percentage is so high. Strong, assertive, really good, decent ball carrier. Looks like he was looking down a little bit there. I don't know if that's a thing as well. When he's dribbling, I wonder if I hope he keeps his head up. I hope he's not doing a Lewis Skelly. Oof. Good tackling there out wide. Again, responsible for the ball. Look at that. Decent long ball. Very good switch of play there. Oh, that's his tackle. That's his ability on the ball. Jeez, he is good. He's decent, but he needs to keep his head up. I feel like he lifts his head. Yeah, hold on. Let me just see this. Sorry, guys. I want to see. Does he keep his head up or not? Let me slow this down. How do I do that again? Playback speed. Sorry, guys. I need to see if what I'm seeing is true or not. All right, so let's play this. Takes the ball. Let me slow it down a little bit more. It's too fast for me. Playback speed. Takes the ball. Turns. Okay, looks up once. Looks up again. Okay. I can live with that. Let me put the speed back on. Playback speed, normal. Shoots, goal, really good strike. Out wide, left back position. He's aggressive with it. Again, takes on the ball there. Lovely through ball, breaking the lines there. Yeah. Gets tight to his defender. Out wide again, strong. They said in the scouting report that he can be a little bit overzealous and give away fouls. But I think Eddie Howe likes those. We know that Eddie Howe likes aggressive plays. Nice turn. Again, good dribbling, good tackle. Takes on the player there. Lovely turn. Again with his... okay, good block there. Again, and we talked about him good at tackling dribblers. You can see out there as well. Really good in the press there. That was really good proactive defending there. Again, aggressive, strong. He's a raw talent for sure. Again, taking on responsibility on tackling those dribblers. That's his thing. Couple more highlights there. Good challenge. Let's see what we've got here. Decent ball. This time with his right. So he does use his right foot. He's not overly left-footed. He does use his right foot to cross and to... so he can play right back. That was from a right back position, guys. Was that from a right back position? It was. He did that from a right back position. Decent cross, yeah. So he can play right back as well. You can see why Newcastle would look at him. He's versatile. He's certainly versatile. Let me know what you guys think of him. Really interesting. All right, so some super players that we looked at. Really good players. Let me know what you guys think of them. Adrian says the exuberance of youth. Adrian says Sherlock will loan him to Hamilton Academy. Hopefully not what Eddie Howe would have for him. But okay, guys. So let me know. So we've had some really good talent here. Let me know who would you guys prefer, Tarik or Dayan? As we're heading to concluding the show, we had a big show tonight, guys. A lot of information. We objectively use the numbers and data to kind of identify where the gaps are for Newcastle United. Obviously, the show is about preparing for the transfer window. Where the gaps are, we used numbers and stats between, in terms of minutes and squad rotations, disparity between starters and backup players, because I think we're going to be focusing a lot on depth to keep the first team fresh. I'll be surprised if we get an out-and-out first-team player in this transfer window. I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I'll be surprised. Yeah, like you said, looking for a Livramento replacement for the next season. You know, that's looking like it's on the cards. But in this January transfer window, do we, like I said, we identified through data that there's definitely a disparity between our forward line. So cover for Voltemada, especially now with Solo going and Wissa injured, a versatile forward, a central midfielder with Willock not reaching squad minutes at all, despite being available, despite me even liking some of his performances against Marseille, against Burnley, and I think he plays against Fulham, I'll be honest with you guys. But it's not been enough. And if you add that with the rumours that he could be leaving, and his contract running out, there's a strong possibility that we do get another central midfielder in as well. And I think that's what we're looking at. And then the defensive area is where my main concern is, where definitely Dan Burn has been overplayed for a backup centre back. He's been playing left back and left centre back for Hall and Botman. Overused, burned out, and now he's 6 weeks out with an injury. We need another either left back in the likes of Dayan or a left centre back in the likes of Tarik. For me, from the data that we've looked at, and again, I haven't seen these guys in like full minutes, but from the highlights, from their stats, from what we learned about their teams, I think Tarik is more ready to be a cover for left centre back especially, but also from time to time covering left back area compared to Dayan. But Dayan has shown versatility to be able to play left back and right back areas as well. If we get them both, that would be special. But I think for sure, for me at the moment, it's Tarik who I would go for. But otherwise, really, really good players. And you guys have chipped in. You've showed your context as well. But also, I think we ought to look on the right side of the pitch. Even though there's been good cover, that cover in Trippier and Kraft, God bless them, is old. And even with the 2-3 games a week we're playing 8-9 days, these guys are suffering. Trippier can't play 2 games a week. He's struggling to play 1 game a week. He's come away with a hamstring injury. Kraft can't do 1 game a month. And he himself has been linked to Copenhagen. And Trippier's in the last 6 months, if we're taking it out of the numbers. But that's a secondary. We looked at secondary priorities as well. Possibly a goalkeeper upgrade. What happens if there's an opportunity to upgrade on the player, like a Trafford? Can he come in? Because essentially both Pope and Ramsdale are average shot stoppers. If you look at FBref, they're not below average, they're not above average, they're bang average. Like, and I mean it in the nicest way. Literally, if you look at the stats, they're average. With Ramsdale being able to have ability on the ball. So if Trafford's available, I know people have said something about his wages. Let me just look at his wages while I'm talking to you guys. What happens? What do Newcastle do? Would they go for it? Let me look at his wages. This is on 50 grand a week. If it's on 50 grand a week, people were saying, no, his wages. I saw a big hoo-ha about his wages. 50 grand a week. We'll be fine. If he's available and if he wants, and if Eddie Howe has forgiven him for his nonsense in the transfer window, if it breaks a few eggs with Pope and Ramsdale, I say take it. But that's like a secondary priority. The priorities are definitely, for me, versatile forward, central midfielder, and the left back or left centre back for Newcastle United. And we looked at Tarik. And what's his full name? Tarik Muharemovic, who's a left centre back, coming in 14 grand a week, playing for Sassuolo. And we looked at Dayan. Dayen Methalie playing for Toulouse. Both clubs counter-attacking teams, low possession. Aaron doesn't rate Trafford. We should go for Restas or Camarecchili. Yeah, it's been mentioned as well, Camarecchili as well. Atalanta are a good team, and not a lot of players like to leave there. But if they become available, sure. But I think the priorities for sure are going to be I think the priorities would be a forward, centre midfielder, and the left-sided player, left back or left centre back. But you guys have been phenomenal. We've gone way past we've gone overtime, but you guys have been phenomenal. You've been liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting. God bless you guys. We're coming back with a show tonight, actually, at 10 p.m. We're going to be reviewing the Sunderland game, and we're going to be doing a preview for the Fulham game. So until that time, make sure you look after each other, guys. And as always, folks, God bless.